I went down to down south to a ranch down here south of me. Beautiful day, conditions should be perfect. It didn't, I mean, it might have froze just a little bit last night, but not enough to make any difference, I don't think. And pretty stable conditions, should be good trailing conditions. So I didn't sleep very good last night. Got up at 4. But anyway, here we go. And I got a pretty early start. I met him down there and had a pretty good day. I mean, we rode down through there and hit a lion track that first morning, and I don't know exactly what happened. I think we ended up backwards on it. It seemed right when we were trailing. I thought I'd seen a track, and all the dogs trailed real good, and it went up, went quite a ways. Went through kind of an open area and kind of zigzagged through there, and then she went up this little old mountain there, and it just kind of petered out. The dogs got where they couldn't hardly trail it. Shoot, we were probably on it for a good 2.5 hours or so, and we figured, she could have walked up and walked back down her tracks or did something. We might have, missed where she turned out or whatever. I've had it happen to me before, where that lion will walk out this way, and she'll walk right back over her tracks and peel out and go a different direction. Sometimes those dogs have a hard time figuring that out. But anyway, we circled back around where I thought she'd gone, or where we thought she'd gone. We couldn't ever hit it again, We got back up around to some higher country back in there and back around, and the wind got to blowing a little bit, and I think Robert had a dog that ran off chasing deer that day. I can't remember, but anyway, we ended up back in there and found that track. There she goes, boys. Coming out of that canyon. I had one dog. Before, when we first started the track, all the dogs were trailing this way, and I had one dog wanting to keep trailing back this way. And, all the other dogs were going this way, like 6 dogs wanting to trail this way, and I had one dog wanting to go that way. So, and sometimes in this country you can't hardly find a track. You're on rock and it's hard ground. Line just don't leave much of a track. And so we went that way. Looking back on it now, we should have went with her and went the other way. Anyway, it's late in the day and windy, and we couldn't hardly trail it. So we went on back to the truck. We got his dog out of there and went on back to the truck. Came back the very next morning. We're gonna cut across. We're gonna go right back up there and go down that trail and see if we can't figure out where that lion went. A lot of game in there. Maybe she made a kill in there somewhere, and she's hanging around, or if we can figure out which direction she's going, maybe make up some time on the track. If something has held her up somewhere or whatever, we might be able to overtake her. But at least maybe for tomorrow, if the weather holds out, we can get to her tomorrow. And the weather was terrible that day. Wind was blowing 90 miles an hour, and instead of staying down on the bottom, we got up on top of the ridge, which probably wasn't smart because the wind was blowing so hard. But dogs were pecking. First thing, we had a couple young dogs. We had dogs were pecking around, and found a place where looked like there had been several kills right in this area. Small area, old kills, but we were trailing a little bit there. Some of the older dogs were trailing just like molasses, just really cold trailing. And then we had some young dogs go over into a little old ravine, and they started barking and took off, and we should have known better. It was trash. We should have shocked them right then. But then they drew the other dogs with them. The good dogs came back, and those 2 young dogs, they went off into East Jabit chasing whatever. And we ended up on top. Dogs were trailing here and there. We found a nice lion track, and we trailed down into this saddle, and they kind of lost it, and then we went over through the saddle and got down. Boy, they started trailing again, and then ended up down in another little old canyon there, and they got going real fast and trailing, and then nothing, and then and then we went around and went on down. I mean, they hit it and they started just bawling going down the canyon. I thought, well, they got it jumped, you know, except we had one dog, one of Robert's dogs, that started trailing out the other way. And that dog, you know, I'd never seen him run trash. And had never seen him run a bear. The only thing I'd ever seen him do is he went with my dogs trailing a lion one day right down the canyon here. And but we assumed he was on the back end of it, you know. And our dogs, I mean, they ran fast. They ran up and over, and I whipped my jackass and got up over there, and they ran into this canyon, had a bunch of big old pine trees, and just stopped right there. And they were just milling around. You know, we started looking in trees everywhere. I thought, you know, they got that sucker in a tree here somewhere, and they just can't locate him. And then I thought, well, it could have been a bobcat, and it still could have been a bobcat hide. You know, they can hide in one of those trees. We can't hardly see them. And we looked and we looked and we looked. We ate lunch there, and we spent a lot of time there, and never could find him or what had happened, you know. And some dogs started trailing out one direction a little bit, but I don't think it was right. And so we rode on out of there, started looking, went back into the country where Robert's other dog went to, and we got back off into some nice saddles and come back around the canyon and this nice creek and got up on some fingers. And I mean, the dogs were trailing here and there and everywhere, you know. They were trailing all over the place, and nothing good, you know, nothing, you know. You could just sit there and watch them, and they moved, you know, 100 feet in 10 minutes. They weren't going anywhere, you know, but they were sure opening on some tracks. And finally, Robert's dog, I think he was right on that. I think he was on a cat, and he got up in some bluffs, and there's no telling what happened, you know, while he's up there by himself. But finally, he came on out, and he went on down and found our track and trailed us on around. Shoot, I bet he trailed us 4 miles, you know, to find us. But and then one of my dogs that had gone off and run deer with Robert's other dog, his other dog showed up at this, and Dietz, you know, he ended up just finding his way back to the truck and trailer. And when we got there that evening, he was there. We went way on down and went around, you know, and we never, nothing of consequence, you know, nothing really exciting. I got some video I'll splice into this, and that's about it, you know. This will be, you know, 2 weeks in one, really, because this will be the third vlog, but it's going to cover 2 weeks. Today is March 7th, I believe. I'm not real sure. Yeah, I think it's March 7th, 8th. Anyway, last week was kind of a bad. I came up here one day. They poured the concrete on my. They're going to bring in my new manufactured home. They poured the concrete on it. I came up here and I hunted one day. Trailed a lot. I mean, trailed all day that day. I got some pretty good video. Got to fly my drone a little bit, and boy, I sat up there and watched those dogs pound out that track, probably for two and a half hours, 3 hours maybe, and they really did a good job. You know, they stayed on it and worked it a long time. Ended up in some bluffs, and I don't know. I turned them around, went back to another area, and it got real hot. And they started trying to trail it back out the other direction, and never couldn't move it fast enough. You know, it was late in the day by then, and it was kind of hot, and the dogs were a little tired. So then I think I drove out that night, and this next day went to the hospital, and they put some stents in my dad's heart. He's 83 years old, and everything went good. Now he feels like a young kid. He's out looking at boats or something today. I don't know what he's up to. But next week, you know, they're going to deliver let's see, today's Tuesday. My grandkids are coming in from Texas, and then Friday they deliver the house. So they'll be working on it and get it all buttoned together. By Tuesday night they should have that done. I got to meet with the guy who's going to do the rest of the concrete work and everything and see what he's doing. And then it's going to be, I got to run water line and electrical line and sewer line All right, I got a guy coming out, put in a septic system, so it's going to be, I'm not going to have a lot of time for a while. I'll do the best, you know, I got to get the dogs out, and I'll still get them out 2 to 3 days a week, you know, maybe not up in this country, but somewhere. And, you know, that's something that you just got to consider. And, you know, the guys that are really good and real successful lion hunters, especially in this country, I mean, they hunt consecutive days, you know, they put in the time and they work at it. It's hard to be successful in this country only hunting, you know, 2 or 3 days a week. And I don't, as a matter of fact, I don't know anybody who does it. But anyway, that's it. I'm kind of tired tonight. You don't believe me. I'm going to go take the dogs out for a little run tonight. Maybe we'll find that lion crossing the road this afternoon.